called it the closest we'll ever come to watching two cats fight. Johnson versus Dodson on UFC on Fox 6 was last night. We've got UFC 156 coming up, which means it's time for your weekly installments lately of Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is easier from outside the cage. With me, as always, Raf Esparza. Raf, how are you doing today?
Great, shut up. We got to keep moving. We've got so much stuff to get through today.
You guys should see the Google Doc surrounding this show. It's 2 whole pages, which either means we're just caring more or we have a lot to talk about. But either way, I'm wasting time. So you are ready to get started. We're going to start with a new segment that we're pretty excited about called This Day in History. We're recording this podcast on January 27th of 2013. And in 1999, on January 27th, Raph, do you have any idea what happened?
No. I don't.
I can't imagine many people will. Naoya Uematsu wins over Mamoru Okuchiki via TKO punches in 1 minute 22 seconds into the second round. That event was the Shudo Shooter's soul.
What?
I don't know what that means. It's the Shudo Shooter's soul on January 27th of 1999. It sounds like it was a great fight, but it was a big night for...
all Japanese anime are you talking about? It sounds like the weirdest thing in the entire world. And to me, if we are doing this segment as a recurring segment,
yeah,
I'm all in favor of it, especially if you have to find the names of fighters you cannot pronounce.
Well, mission accomplished on this first round.
Well done.
When I saw it, I was just like, oh, what a nightmare. That's really the best MMA moment I can find for January 27th of 1999. And it was. I just like the Shudo Shooters. It's Shooters like has an apostrophe S as though it's like reflection of the Shudo Shooter's soul, which I like.
Right. And it's possessive because it is that Shudo Shooter's soul. So thus you are seeing what is inside of them in fighting form.
Either way, it sounds like it was a barn burner of a fight. TKO stopped via punches into the second round. So we mentioned this last week. Big reveal for us. We want to do something special. You know, Tough started this week, the Ultimate Fighter House. People are living there. We got to see the first episode. Raph was watching live and live tweeting it, which was pretty fun.
Yep.
You also got my jiu-jitsu instructor, Andrew Correa, was also doing some live tweeting, which is helpful. Because his is half MMA referee, half just sarcastic remarks, which is always a good combination.
I mean, honestly, though, that is the type of human being I get along with most. Like, I know something about one thing, and I'm going to tell you a specialized version of it. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's very insightful. Oh, yeah, and also this guy's a dick. Hey, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's also becoming our de facto MMA referee. We tweeted him some questions during the fight last night, which is helpful. So you've put together something particularly special. We talked about a 1 minute review of The Ultimate Fighter. We're going to try and do this every week because, it's a busy life. People don't always have time, and we're being proactive about this.
And the other thing is that, like, most people talk about the convention of The Ultimate Fighter and that it's long in the tooth. It's been on for quite a bit. Like, Chael was saying it's been on for 8 years. I totally forgot it's been that long because they've had more than 8 years of seasons. They've had, 14 seasons or something like that now? 15?
They churn them out every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, so the idea is that because of all those conventions on the show, we thought you can essentially boil down a 60-minute program into 1 minute. And then guess what the UFC decided to do? They decided to make it a 2-hour premiere. So,
that did make me laugh when it came out. It was 2 hours.
2 hours of the first episode in 1 minute. Can I do it in 2? Possibly.
Well, there's really only one way to find out.
I guess that is true.
Now, I would like to issue a warning. This is the 2-minute review of The Ultimate Fighter. Brace yourself, and here we go.
Chael Sonnen goes through a door. Talking Heads suddenly filmed in Super HD. John Jones is there too. Dana gives us the first lecture of sacrifice to a montage of hardships and takedowns. Fighters then stare into the camera as if they're about to ask you to donate for a telethon. I am the next Ultimate Fighter is said in Spartacus-like fashion. Oh no, shitty hotels. Guess they couldn't get the family rate. Dana says, bring your friends, family, to watch the fight. It'll be awkward and great TV. And there's gonna be prizes. UFC contract, money, fame, glory, unless you're one of the 10 other winners that no one else can name. Chael and John will fight at the end? Maybe, if they stay healthy. Chael and John also then cut the first of many shameless plugs. Chael, you mean to tell me you've never driven a Harley Davidson? They're great. BT Dubs, John Jones, Diva. Dana says, hello, fucking fighters. You fucking win, you get a fucking Harley Davidson. Put whatever the fuck you want in it. I don't fucking care. Lots of focus mitts then get hit. Knock, knock. Who's there? Fighters. Alaska football versus former fat guy. Fatty's got a good-looking girlfriend and a win into the house. I can't pay my bills. Goes down to One Punch Cummings. Everyone gets hugs after, though. Cowboy Hat loses to more different Terry Crews. MMA comes natural to me. Has a loss come even more naturally to him. Compliments of a guy named Thor. Missing cornrows, loses to federal prison, Clint Hester. John Jones recognizes a guy, coaches him outside the octagon, everyone's cool with it. Who knew girlfriends were so crazy into fighting? 4 times a charm for Double Fist Josh Saman, and Chael's got a man crush. 9-2 divorced, hilarious to Dana White. Tough divorce dad, not tough enough to get past bail bondsman. Loses in front of kids, guaranteed therapy for all parties involved. Jiu-Jitsu guy beat straight out of Stockton. Jamaica man, have no confidence, but gives worst Father's Day present ever to opponent. More different Peel from Key and Peele beats Take My Last Dollar guy. Mama's boy loses to lanky Doctor Who. Marijuana Grow House gets past the guy who played Death in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Dick gets the best out of Red Hooded Jasper. Pick teams, coin toss, Sonnen wins. Lanky Doctor Who first pick. Johns takes federal prison first. Wildcard bitches, fight your heart out, Dana says. Everybody make a list. Next week, Lanky Doctor Who takes on more different Peel. Anyone got a stepladder? Sonnen ends with, when I take control, I don't give it back. Unless it's to Anderson Silva in the 5th round of a fight. This season on The Ultimate Fighter, John Jones uses Macho Man voice. And Chael Sonnen rhymes a lot. And I'm spent.
2 minutes, 11 seconds. A personal best.
Shit. Okay, now, in my defense... that was the premiere episode, so I think I could actually hit 1 minute on these other episodes. God damn.
Agreed. 105 and 1 minute 05 seconds per first episode. There also was a lot to talk about. I liked the family thing. I liked having a whole room filled with people.
Was not a fan, especially when you see the kids watch their dad lose. Just it was so ridiculously unnecessary, and especially the kids that just go up to the dad and they're like, "It's okay, you're still our hero, Dad.
I'm so proud of you." Yeah, things are there was more on the line, and if you watch The Ultimate Fighter or don't, it's a brand new show. The way they're producing it, there was a lot of super HD moments. But
did you say if you watch The Ultimate Fighter, don't?
You what?
If you said if you watch The Ultimate Fighter, don't?
It said if you do or don't.
Okay. Lesson learned. Just watch The Ultimate Fighter. This season, way better than the past incarnations we've seen so far. It looks like FX really got behind them on this and allowed them, especially when you see those HD cameras and those talking heads, they look like Nike commercials. That's
actually the best way to say it. They did look like well-shot Nike commercials.
Yeah.
And there's also just part of me that's like, they clearly invested in finding better fighters. I mean, that's obvious, right? Like, these are the best intro to the house Ultimate Fighter fights I've ever seen. Like, this, even the worst fight of that episode, of Tuesday's episode, was better than any of the major fights on last season. So,
yeah.
They're making really good changes, and we like seeing that. Thank you for that unbelievable 2 minute, 11 second review.
I do what I can, and I'm more than happy to keep doing this, and I know the two of us are going to be happy to talk about The Ultimate Fighter, because we're into it this year again.
You boiled it down well, just the former fatty versus can't pay his bills. There was a lot of narrative about the fighters, I guess is the point.
This is the worst part. This is the worst part about doing that 2 minute review, is you don't really get a lot of time to know people. So they literally just, when the producers see them, they're like, tell us the biggest thing about you. Like, what's the most interesting thing about you? I used to be fat. Great, fatty.
Let's run with it. This guy used to be fat.
I love when they push narratives against each other. Like when they put the most well-adjusted person against the least adjusted person, and it always makes for the most interesting thing because it's like, I've got a great family. I love my family. It's great. Yeah, man. Shit's rough for me. I gotta win or I'm gonna die.
Yeah, there is a good mix. It's like I've been sleeping on my floor for almost 12 months, paying my rent to my buddy just to live there. And then another kid's like, I just started fighting like 6 weeks ago. It seems like it's going really well so far. Obviously I'm just living with my parents, enjoying life. And
I think it's so weird, though, that
mix.
you had that one guy who's like, yeah, MMA comes just, like, natural to me. I don't really need to train. So, like, oh, wait, I'm out.
Turns out he did actually need to train. He needs to work a little bit more on not getting choked out pretty easily.
That's a helpful tool.
That guy really did manhandle him. It was almost like the guy knew. I bet if you asked him, it's like, what would you say the one thing you really needs to work on? It's like, well, he's going to have to start training because he's pretty easy to boil down. There's too much to talk about. So watch The Ultimate Fighter. Gets a good review from us.
Yep.
What did you think of the fights last night? UFC on Fox 6.
I was a fan. The thing I like about this relationship with Fox is that you can tell they're trying. Like, it may not work the best, and believe me, we will talk about how it didn't work. But I appreciate the effort. Yeah, I mean, the sound problems alone.
How's that possible?
I don't know. I honestly, at that level of a production scale, you think you have one person who knows the difference between a mute and a duck under, who knows how to check the sound in between a commercial break.
Yeah, to hear that they're having sound issues at the United Center, it's like, well, they have a lot of experience putting on a lot of sports productions, so you really have to wonder what was going on there.
I think you are transitioning us very nicely to talking straight about the fights, because it started off kind of awkward. So on Facebook, they had their first fight, okay? Mm-hmm. At the very last minute of a 3-round fight, it cut off on Facebook.
Really?
Yup. You didn't even get to see the end of it. I actually ended up having to see who won the fight via Twitter.
Oh.
It was
crushing.
And the worst part is, I was so enraged that when they cut to John Anik on the FX broadcast, I didn't even know what he said. I was so, like, when you get in that, like, such angry thing that you block out anything where anybody else is saying?
Yeah, blind rage.
Blind rage is where I was, and I reviewed it again today, and I actually picked up what he was saying. And I actually looked at him, and I go, oh, he made words. In my brain, he was just like, sorry, we're dicks, because we don't know how to use a stopwatch.
Yeah, so start to finish, production issues. I didn't know the third fight. I wasn't watching the Facebook prelims. I was trying to when the other ones started, so I was like, oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually, the first fight was good, and it's one of those fights that you would like to see the end result of it, just for the sake of being able to say, like, oh yeah, I was invested in this. That's cool.
I saw Mitchell defeated Thorson via unanimous decision.
Yep.
Natal over Sean Spencer, round 3 submission.
Yep, that arm triangle that he got was pretty good. He was, for a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner, it was weird because he was going kind of for, it looked like some kind of paintbrush that he couldn't finish at all. So it was weird because Joe was even calling him back on it, and he was just like, dude, you got to finish. Like, you know what you're doing. You know better than this. And then he just transitioned into an arm triangle, and it was pretty good. The most notable thing about Rafael, though, and by the way, amazing name.
Obviously.
Rafael had this one moment where he walked out to the crowd, and I guess he knew he wasn't going to get interviewed. So he just started cutting what I like to call his Diego Montoya promo. Because he's like, hi, my name is Rafael Natal. I have a great body, a beautiful girlfriend. I love America. I'm from Brazil. And then they, like, cut away from him, and then they announce him as the winner of the fight when they come back from commercial, and he's like, and I'm still beautiful, and I have a girlfriend.
You know his buddies have that on repeat now, too. They've YouTubed it and are putting together a nice sequence.
But it made me think that I should just show up at places when they give me, like, a dubious honor, like, hey, man, here's a participation award. Ah, thank you. Oh, I want to say I have a hot body. A great girlfriend, a hot girlfriend.
I don't know if it's going to go quite as well in your profession, but let me just state my full support in that plan.
Thank you.
I really want
That's all
you
I
to
ever
do
asked
that
for.
at the different things you might get participation trophies for.
You never know. Sometimes if you attend something well enough, showing up 80% of the battle.
Yeah, like college. They'll
Yeah.
just throw something at you at the end. You're set to go.
That's true. You're a doctor now.
Yeah, those aren't hard to come by. Say Mike Rousseau probably does not have a PhD versus Sean Jordan. Jordan gets the win via TKO.
Yes, and the worst part about this fight was Russo, the hometown cop. He had a great first round, but he allowed Jordan to get back in the game in the second round. You could tell the cardio was starting to fatigue. Like, he basically was using up a lot of his energy to try and get him out. Now, see, this is why I'm an awful human being. This gentleman is 256 pounds and has good cardio and isn't fighting in a cage, which I will never do. But I couldn't stop thinking, man, does he want a donut the entire time he's fighting?
There's
and
a
that's
little
what
bit
a
of cop
shitty
in me,
human being
yeah.
is. Yeah, I don't know.
See,
And
I go the
so-
other way. It's like there's not a little bit of you that wishes you had your taser right now. Just really make a statement on national television.
I just also wanted to have him stop the other guy, Jordan, during the fight and just be like, so what are you doing here? You want to tell me what's going on here?
Get your ID on you.
Yeah. Although I will say, Jordan actually had what I like to call, and I want to start this as a segment, Tattoo of the Night.
What was it? I actually, there are some big nominees because anytime Rampage fights, a Tattoo of the Night, it's a nomination battle. It's not an
That's
easy
fair.
win.
But the reason why this one won, not just because it was patriotic, but it was super patriotic. It looked like it had Hacksaw Jim Duggan with a tiger posing in front of an American flag.
Jesus.
And I just said, like, that's pretty impressive. Like, he should win Tattoo of the Night. So that's my my designee for Tattoo of the Evening.
Hard to argue with. That's it sounds like an early nominee, but
Yep.
Rampage has got some bad ones too.
He does.
And both Showtime and Cowboy both have their nicknames adorned on their tattoo. There are many tattoos, which is always good.
I wonder if it's like clothing where you just want to be like, oh, my name's Rampage, just in case you ever get that bad of a concussion.
Well, for him, I didn't think about that. That's probably not a bad idea to have
Just
their
saying.
names. If you're a fighter, it's like I'd put mine on my forearm though, just so I'd have like that, the day's date, and just whatever, just the concussion responses right on my forearm. God,
I
people
like
should
that
do
you're going to memento your way back to it.
Oh yeah, whatever it takes. I'll just take a little portrait, find myself right back into that fight because that's all that's standing between me and a successful fight career. Getting past the concussion test. Ryan Bader. Speaking of concussion tests, Ryan Bader versus Vladimir Mutashenko.
Yeah. I was not a giant fan of this fight, and
Yeah,
nothing
because Bader
against...
ended it with a guillotine, which just let's everything against Mutashenko. Let's
Let's
Bader's
take a
been
moment.
on a slide.
Here's what I'll say. With Bader, I thought it was nice that he got to redeem himself because he himself went out to a guillotine against Tito Ortiz. So, great.
Yeah.
Very happy for him. However, dude was 14 years older than Ryan Bader. So, Modest Yahoo is what I'm calling him. Modest Yahoo basically got caught in the very first seconds of it. Got a jab straight on the button, and it was awkward. I mean, he's dazed. I understand that. But Bader was essentially working for a guillotine, and Modest Yahoo was just standing there.
Modest Yahoo.
Thank you. And the weirdest part about it is I re-looked at it because I did get into a debate with somebody on Twitter, and mind you, they probably know what they're talking about. I don't dispute that. But I'll say this. You can tell when a person is so old, they are incapable of moving in a way that is healthy for them. So when his leg was trapped, there are ways that he could have been transitioning, but he chose not to, and instead leveraged himself up to be further in the choke. And then in the amount of time that he could have actually gotten out of it, allowed himself to get into half guard, which essentially sunk the choke. It was really awful to watch.
That was the part that I was like, look, basic jiu-jitsu teaches you not to do exactly the three things you did, right? If someone even gets a remotely close guillotine, there are some things you need to do to get out of it. And it's a lot easier to do when there's not a gi involved and, you know, you can punch them. Like there's, I put down in my notes, why half guard? I actually grabbed a notepad and wrote that down because, well, I had been drinking and I was pretty sure I was going to forget it. But I agree with you. Weird.
I was so infuriated, though, that I was like, of all ways to lose, I just felt like that didn't just feel like a win to me. But I don't know. Who cares? A win's a win in the UFC. I just felt shortchanged by the fight and saying, like, look, this is exactly the reason why nobody wants to see this.
Yeah. Before we get to the next fight, Stump versus Cross, and not as German as it sounds, but pretty German. You want to do a Chael Sonnen check-in?
Yeah. I wanted to do a Chael Sonnen check-in. So they basically brought Chael Sonnen out with Jon Jones to talk about The Ultimate Fighter on FX. So great branding, really cool idea. And in this moment, you have Chael Sonnen essentially comparing himself as a fighter, mind you, after Joe Rogan asked him if he was worthy to actually be fighting for the title against Jon Jones. You have Chael Sonnen comparing himself as a fighter to Sean P. Diddy Combs.
Well, first of all, natural comparison.
Of course.
I don't think he's the first one to say. I think everybody says that, right? It's, yes, Chael, you are exactly to the fight game what Sean P. Diddy Combs is to rapping. That makes perfect sense.
That's the
I'm
best
sure Dana
SAT
White particularly
I've
enjoyed that
heard.
comparison.
That's really funny. Yeah, so I mean, and not only that, but Chael, and I'm going to hashtag this because I want it to become a real thing, Chael psychology. Mm-hmm. Let's make that become a real thing. Chael psychology was essentially then getting into Justified mentions for the show Justified, which was hysterical. So, like, he's not afraid to be this guy who promotes the show. And in a way, it's kind of refreshing.
I have a theory about this.
What's that?
I think he's just the first fighter that can ever memorize the 2 or 3 things they need him to talk about. So they're just really going for it. Like if you handed, let's just use Rampage. If you handed Rampage Jackson a list, it was like, you need to talk about the show Justified, The Ultimate Fighter coming up, and that stupid P. Diddy thing we wrote for you. That's really a stretch. He would end up talking about his love of the Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men, and then just being like, A-Team 2, it's coming! And that would be it.
He'd definitely make some sort of weird reference to being like, yeah, I miss Pride.
He does. He misses Pride a lot. No, it's a weird, like, thank you, Chael, for all of your work. He ended with what looked like they did a nice WWE moment, as you so eloquently put it.
Thank you. And the weirdest part about this is, even Joe Rogan kind of looked to to Jon Jones and was kind of like, so do you guys like each other? And it was a weird thing, like, Joe Rogan wanted them to go to the prom together. It's like, are you guys friends?
Do you think about him sometimes?
Do you like Chael? Do you like John? Well, then go to prom together. It was just weird. And then, like, the two of them have a stare down because every UFC promo ever has to have a stare down. And you could see they both want to smile because they're just like, this is stupid. So, yeah, it had all the authenticity of a WWE event, except they couldn't hold their faces.
Yeah, they're not quite as good at the stories yet. Klaus outclasses Stump in a pretty solid decision, though. It was unanimous.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
Klaus
I did
wins.
like the fight, though.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was. I didn't think there was really all that weak a fight.
No.
Clay Guida picks up why is Clay Guida everyone's favorite fighter? They just chant for him all the time. He picks up a split decision over Hatsu Hioki.
Hot soup?
Yeah, I actually had some Hatsu Hioki, I think. It's the number 3 off of the Peking Village where I order my Chinese food. I can't be sure.
Well played, sir.
My racial comments aside.
Shut up, dude. We just got to run with it. People know if they made it this far into the broadcast, I think they know
They're somewhat okay with my name racism.
We're pretty racist.
It's like It's a latent form.
But
yeah, well, you've already you did the old Raphael earlier to add our minority count.
that's
one,
different.
so.
I'm brown.
Yeah.
And my name's Raphael too. Thank you.
That's
well,
how
the
it's
reason
pronounced.
why the Clay Guida thing was so interesting to me, it looked like he was doing a tribute to Coach Ditka with his new mustache. But in actuality, he looked like a deranged and erratic Yanni. So they added a new dimension. And
that is a new dimension for him, which is tough to do.
And to go a little bit more off what you were talking about, I think the reason why they liked him, and I wasn't a huge fan of this fight, for the main reason that it looks sloppy. And that's his thing. He fights with a lot of heart, but it's sometimes a great fight where it's just two people trading exchanges. But more recently, it just looks extremely sloppy. But you have to credit a guy who's just in there and just wants to fight, even if, as Joe even put it, I guess, at one point, he's just kind of dancing around a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not a ton more to say about the fighters.
No.
I mean, it's just a fun fight, though. Yeah, we still like him. That's about as good a reason
course.
as anyone. This, you put this note in here. I like this. Then they did a very nice... So it was an exciting little tribute to Matt Hughes to commemorate his retirement. We don't get a lot of those retirement videos.
No.
That'd be a kind of cool thing they should do every fight. I mean, it's not like they don't have a fighter retiring all the time.
No.
It'd be really funny if it was a guy that fought like 3 times. Like Brock Lesnar's retirement video would have been really solid. Him yelling about beer for 2 minutes of it.
You know what? That's a great idea. You always have the retirement package ready to go so that if a person's in their first fight and they fight super shitty, it's like, well, it's been a great one. Let's look at your journey.
Yeah, we're going to get Sean Spencer out here one more time to take a curtain call. No, we're on to things. God, we're just spitting hot fire in the ideas department.
We just created new jobs
though,
at UFC.
Yeah, we do. We're just creating jobs until they hire us. Matt Hughes looked like he would have rather been at home staring at a cornfield. He just did not look stoked to be there.
No, and, you know, again, on the racist side, it just, like, the shot of it, there was just some, like, really cute black kids, like, right behind him. And at one point I was like, was he really pissed about where he got sat? Because I don't know his situation. I don't know what's happening here. That's the way the shot looked like. Yeah,
he does get uncomfortable sometimes. It was a fun tribute. Yeah, and this is just Matt Hughes, the new VP of, like, fighter relations.
Yeah.
Something like that. We both concur he could have dressed up for the occasion. Like, he could have worn a jacket or something to signify his executive status.
It's true, and to be honest, you know, camouflage t-shirts are hard to match up with suit jackets.
Very fair. That's a very fair reason to not be wearing a suit. Maybe you should talk to the Puff Daddy of fighting, Chael Sonnen, and see if he has something in his closet.
I am the Puff Daddy of fighting. You can put that in writing, and it would be binding. I don't know.
No, that's about what he does. God, he just loves to rhyme. People are going to get drunk if they listen to our Ultimate Fighter drinking game.
It's true.
Matt Wyman becomes not so handsome after a wicked elbow to the temple. He got he got helloed by a few elbows, actually, as it ended. But yeah, Wyman goes down.
The best analogy I heard in there was saying it's essentially when you hit somebody on the temple like that with your elbow, you can essentially make a light switch go off. And that's what it looked like.
Yeah. That is exactly what it looked like. And you put this note here, Joe and Dana yell a lot.
This is really your issue, so I want you to take this.
Everyone was yelling into the microphone. I get that there are people excited around them about the broadcast, but perhaps they could either turn up the juice on the microphone, find a nice quiet booth to interview each other in, or just do something to where they're not having to rapidly adjust their volume to their own ears, and it just ends up sounding like Dana screaming into a microphone about how excited he is about The Ultimate Fighter.
I just love how
this goes back to their sound issues. Oh, I was tweeting up a storm about it. We were doing some pretty vicious tweeting. Yeah, thank you, Joe and Dana, for your And can we please, like, why do they have to go with the TGI Fridays standard uniforms? Why is everyone wearing black? Can't we just get a mix of their own personal color in there? Just a gray, maybe a little blue?
I wonder if that was a note Dana did. Is like, hey, none of you assholes better wear anything other than black.
Only pussies and gingers wear colors. We wear black on this production. I don't know why he has a Western accent.
I don't either, but I love
having
when you
team
do
meetings. He
accents
does. It's worth listening for. So
speaking of worth listening for, when we transitioned to the Fox broadcast, it was hard to do that.
Yeah, that's actually when they made the official announcement. They were like, due to sound issues, you can't hear our guys in the booth. Like,
this is my impression of the transition to Fox. We are on Fox. And scene.
Nailed it. That might be your best one yet. That's pretty good. Yeah, we missed all of Chael's rhyming anecdotes as he went into the fight, and what a start it was. Ricardo Lamas.
I'm sorry, I just
taking
imagined
on Eric Cope.
Chael getting really sad and told by a production assistant that they're not going to allow him to read his poem that he ripped.
Chael, we missed that diddly widdly rhyme you did. He's like, what? I'm never going to get to use that again.
I stayed up all night to write this.
Yeah, he probably did.
Yep.
So, vicious elbow. We see Lamas take over Kosh. That was it's Coke. It's so hard to figure out. Eric, come on, Eric, help us out with the KFC. So big opening knockout, which I really enjoyed. Lamas was even trending on Twitter for a second, which is always good.
Yep.
Fun fight.
I appreciated
not a ton to talk
when
about.
Lorenzo Lamas' brother won. I thought that was pretty good. And I thought, Joe called it one of the nastiest cuts he saw happen so quickly.
It was pretty deep.
Yeah.
It was deep
it just happened
and vicious.
so fast. That was amazing about it.
Yeah. Quick check-in with Dana before we go to the next one.
So they might have done like 29 check-ins with Dana, but this one was the most significant because we found out the extent of Dana and Joe Rogan's love for one another.
That was weird.
Which is that, like, Joe prefaces it by being like, you guys don't know this, but at 2 a.m., Dana and I will exchange text messages and angry phone calls because we love fight so much.
So, your 2 a.m. call buddy is Dana White. That's who you're... Joe, can you imagine those conversations, by the way?
Actually, we had a few people tweet some at us.
Yeah, people were pretty sure.
2 a.m. Dana White conversations. And that's a hashtag I really want to see go. This is one from Randy Wilder. Joe, OMG, Dana, those fights were awesome. So this is weed. Dana, Joe, calm down and let's just talk about the fights. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's probably how they all start, too. It's like, I'm on this new weed called Hindu Butt Mountain. It will really do things to you. Dana's just like, I've been beating up hookers in a high-priced hotel room in Tokyo for 6 hours. Let's work it out. And scene. Showtime Pettis. I believe I called this on our last fight. I think you were a fan of the Cowboy Cerrone. You might have changed your mind halfway through the picks, but I remember you enjoyed... Yeah, we both like the Cowboy, but man... Pettis deserves a title shot, right? That's what this means?
Yes. Also, he was asking for... Was he asking for it? Yeah, I think he was asking for the birthday gift.
Yeah, he wanted the birthday bonus.
This is something I talked about on Twitter, and I don't know what your feelings are, but I know whenever I organize something for my birthday, it's hard enough getting people together for a dinner, let alone a fight.
Yeah, but I do feel like people would be more apt to, at least you don't have to worry about it, right? That way you don't have to plan anything. People are like, hey, what are you going to do for your birthday?
Yeah,
so, I got to fight. I'm going to be in Chicago rocking it out. So that's kind of the way that goes.
And probably a good way to get gifts, if you are giving them something. It's like, ooh, I got you this knee brace because I saw what happened. Happy birthday.
I also just like that he asked for a birthday bonus. I'd have given it to him. By far, that was my favorite fight of the night. Pettis and Cowboy. Just
that was a good fight.
They're both such promising fighters in that division. But Pettis is the last guy to knock Henderson out. I might be making that up. I know he did knock Henderson out. And I want to see Pettis, because Pettis is the exact opposite of Benson Henderson, right? Because he finishes fights.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like he wants to do. It looks like he just wants to knock you out. You want to go to the ground, He's got enough ground game to get up, and then he's going to just try and knock you out.
Yep.
And I really want to see, but I don't think Benson Henderson's going to keep a toothpick in his mouth for that one. Might end up in in his other cheek if he's not careful. Yeah, Pettis. Wow. Showtime indeed. That was a battle of the awesome tattoos. Yes. So Rampage retired after the fight. Technically, he had called his retirement, but man, he looked like he was halfway through on his way to work today, and he was like, you think I could call in sick? You think I could just call and say I don't feel well? Get Dane on the phone.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I wonder if you can call in sick like that.
I mean, fighters do get sick occasionally, but normally like doctor has to send them home before they won't fight.
Right.
Man,
I just wondered if anybody like sends Dana a note that's like, my doctor gave me a note.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've got some laryngitis.
No, the thing I thought that was funny about this Rampage fight, and I want to have a new coin for a new segment called Cameo of the Night. Cameo of the Night goes to Rampage because he really did just show up just to make an appearance, is what it looked like. He looked like he was not at all in that fight. He was
bad fight for Rampage.
And I mean, props to his ability to stick in there. He does have a hard chin. Like, he really does have a good ability to stick in most fights, unless you're trying to submit him and he just doesn't know what that is. But, like, he really sticks it out. And I can acknowledge that, but he just looked like he was dreaming about a craft services table at a movie set. He just looked somewhere else, man.
Possibly A-Team 2. That's me willing another A-Team 2. I want another A-Team movie. I love the first one. I thought it was great. Yeah, he's ready. And even then, it looked like he got pissed off enough that he almost won the fight. I still think he's I think he's a better fighter than Teixeira, but I don't know. Goodbye, Rampage. I guess we're probably ready to see him go, though. One good thing that came out of the fights last night, we really both enjoyed the picture-in-picture during the fights.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah. So keep improving. We like it, UFC. Finally, fight of the evening. Well, at least it was supposed to be Dodson versus Johnson. What did you think?
I thought it was actually a good fight. It's just, I think people need a while to get used to people who are tiny and who, when they punch, can punch to day's end. And they get knocked down, but they get right back up. And as you mentioned, they essentially fought what I like to think as the closest you'll ever see to humans fighting like cats.
Yeah. I still, it's kind of just gets super boring. They don't, even this fight is just, there were moments towards the end of the fight that they started to look like actual fighters and get a little tired and punch each other.
They look like real-sized humans for a minute.
Did we have a single close moment where the fight almost ended?
They had a couple. I thought, from the exasperated part of your voice, I can tell not so much on your end. But they did have a couple moments where I thought Dodson put a good amount of work in, where he could have finished the fight in the second round, maybe a little bit in the third. But I also thought the fight could have been stopped once you essentially had Johnson hitting those vicious knees.
Yeah, Johnson was throwing the knees despite Dodson trying to avoid them by touching the ground, which gets us to the illegal hit part of the evening.
Yes.
He had a few. He had the groin shot. But for people that watch MMA or just casually watch MMA, one of the things that you'll notice, and we're starting to see this more as game plans develop, you can't punch and kick them in the head when they're making contact with the ground. So he was just putting his hand down to see if he could remove that possibility, and Johnson kind of hit him in the face with a knee while his hand was touching the ground. You've seen Jones did it a lot. Jones does it, like fighters that are trying to just be a little smarter, and nearly cost him. And it's always funny to see. You said this is a stupid rule.
I think it's a weird rule.
Yeah, it is weird that all of a sudden they're like, hey, look, feel free to kick him in the face, but not if they're touching the ground, guys. Like, then move it to his body like a gentleman. It's a weird... They just, they're struggling. I'm sure there's reason behind it, but maybe they should revisit some of the...
The only thing that it looks like to me is it always looks like something that the, like, comic relief guy does in a movie, where he's like, you wouldn't hit a man with glasses, would you? He puts on glasses, and he's like, look, I'm touching the floor. You wouldn't hit a man touching the floor, would you? Like, it just looks so weird. But then it's like, oh, my hand's raised. Yep, knee me in the face. Totally cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of cowboyish in that. But it's like, you wouldn't shoot a... I just watched the Tarantino movie, too, so I'm
quite good
on these. All right. You and I have been, really looking for some competition in the podcast world. Yeah. We're certainly not getting it from the UFC. We're owning those guys. ESPN isn't ready for our comedic timing, and they're certainly not ready for our creative prowess. I think that's. To be
fair, sometimes I'm not sure we're ready for our own comic timing, but you know what?
How do you prepare for it, though, Raph? That's the only thing I would say. So, in that vein, you have something you'd like to say.
Yes, I do. So, here's the deal. I've learned a lot over the years from things like rap music and pro wrestling, which is you basically just call out whoever you want. And if there's one thing I'm definitely seeing in the UFC now, it's that you literally can just call your way to a title shot or to a fight that you want. Rory McDonald, you've got fucking... Who is it? Somebody just did it yesterday. You had Pettis, who's now doing it.
It's becoming a thing. I mean,
John
Pettis
Jones
is
got
just
called
among
out
the many.
by
John
Chael
Jones.
Sonnen.
It got Chael Sonnen to host Tough. Yeah. I mean, that's...
So here's what I'm saying. I would like to call out somebody. I would like to call out the Co-Main Event podcast. Now, they do a wonderfully fine podcast.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Exactly. So here's my thing. It's run by two guys, Chad Dundas and Ben Folks. Chad, I really don't have that much beef with you, so whatever.
I do.
Oh, Kevin has taken up the beef with Chad. That is excellent.
Yeah,
my beef,
Chad,
is with
Get
Ben
an adult's
Folks.
Name, first of all. Second of all, then we'll talk.
What a solid diss. This is really working well for us. But here's the thing, Ben Folks. You may write as a professional journalist. You may have a podcast. So what? We're better than you. I hope you know that. Boom.
And we know we're better than you. So consider yourself on our radar, Co-Main
You guys are
Event
on notice.
podcast.
I hope you guys know this. This shit is coming down. I hope you have a frown. Is that what Chels does? This is what you do?
Better get yourself ready. Better be feeling steady before. Yeah, we'll work on our rhyming.
You know what? This is perfect.
Before
we
the
will
official
outright the
first
shit out of you, Ben Folks.
Wrapping up some final topics before we do a rapid fire UFC 156 prediction. Did you see Bellator 86? Great fights the other night.
You know, I haven't. It's still on my DVR.
So that is a definitive no. You did not watch Bellator 86.
Hey, you listen here. I don't want to ruin any of Bellator 1 through 85, so just, give me some time, man.
That's okay, sorry. Yes, you don't want to spoiler alert the first 85 events that are also on your DVR. One of these days, you're going to catch a fight. No, I saw the bloodiest fight I've ever seen. It got stopped via referee stoppage. Oh my gosh. Look up the highlights to Bellator 86, people. It was on Cage Potatoes, like just bone-crushing. He essentially shut this guy's whole face down. It was disturbing. So be on the lookout. More Bellator to come. We might actually have to start covering those. They're pretty great. But, for now, let's move on to UFC 156. Do a little rapid-fire production. I put together some of the top fights. Are you ready to do this quick style?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Joseph Benavidez versus Ian Uncle Creepy McCall. That's his nickname.
I can't go for anybody who's actually named Uncle Creepy.
Yeah, Ian McCall has this really cool modern hair thing, and I just want to see more of him, so I'm going for Uncle Creepy.
Nice.
All right, John Fitch versus Demian Maia.
I'm very excited for this fight, but I feel I know where you're going on this.
Fitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the
Because
other
you're
guy's
man
last
love
name.
of him, right?
Oh yeah, I love me some John Fitch. Plus, we're both beardsmen, which is a big part of it. You know, you wouldn't understand, Ref, but when we the way we both have, we have nice beards. But
as in you have fake girlfriends? I don't understand what you're talking about here.
No, like actual beards.
Oh wait, you're talking
Like
about
the
the fact
facial
that my
hair.
beard is infinitely superior to yours?
Mine's lumberjack style right now.
Yours is
Spartan
lumberjack
ass.
style.
Yeah.
You know what mine is? Classic, because no one else can replicate it.
Yeah. Classic is. Rev is very unique facial hair. Alistar the Reem Overeem. What a shitty nickname. Versus Antonio
stupid.
Bigfoot Silva, who does have a pretty cool nickname because Bigfoot's a big one. I'm going
don't
for
know.
Bigfoot.
Well, Kevin Phillips.
Kevin Lips Phillips.
I don't want to go for Reem, but I have to.
Yeah, you kind of do. Sugar Rashad Evans. This is going to be a good fight. Sugar Rashad Evans versus Antonio Ruggiero Nogueira.
I'm going Nog, but I don't know if I can back that up. I just want to root for him.
Yeah, I don't think he's said a word since he joined the UFC. Conversely, Sugar Rashad never stops talking. I'm going to go for Rashad because I feel like we're at the end of his career, and I want to see him do something else. And I'd really like him to get back in there against Jones. I think that might be a possible fight. I don't know. We'll see.
That's fair.
Finally, Jose Jr. Aldo versus Frankie the Answer Edgar.
This is tough because this is Frankie's, big switch down a weight.
Oh, you think this is tough?
I mean, I want to root for him, but I mean, the biggest thing against him is probably the cut down.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, it's 10 pounds. Like, for a guy that didn't cut beforehand, I don't think 10 pounds is actually going to be a big deal for him. I'm going with the Answer. I think he's going to win in stunning fashion.
That's fine. I didn't say I'm not going for him. I'm just saying that's going to be a fucking rough thing to do. But
Quit cheering against
I'll
Frankie.
go with Frankie.
All right.
What's that?
I said quit cheering against Frankie. Plus, the Answer is still, like, the coolest. It's a little bit of an Iverson theft, but, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I got some shout-outs to make. I got some people to thank. Well, first of all, let's thank the Twitter community. You and I are both having a ton of fun with the different people we interact with on Twitter and during the fights and during tough lives. So we're going to keep getting better at that. We're going to keep getting better at the mentions. And, where else? Certainly not over at the Co-Main Event podcast. Can you get a personal shout-out when you listen to the show? A guy I roll with, Rob Acree. I want to thank you for listening to a little bit of the podcast. We've got some... Go check out BJJ Finder, by the way.
Yeah, that's a great website.
Yeah, it's a great... Finally, people like that study MMA, look for MMA when you travel on business year-round. Go to BJJ Finder. Plug in gyms that you already know about. Search for ones you don't. It's really easy, and they also there's a good iPhone app coming that I've seen in their development labs. So please head over to BJJ Finder. No Stalling with Andrew Correa, who's also my instructor. He leads over there at BJJ and MMA Academy out in Chantilly. We actually really want to thank Andrew. He's actually been giving us some website advice as well. He has some experience. He has just a million years experience refereeing MMA and in the fight game, so he's helping us out with some things, which we really appreciate.
And still don't know why you're doing it, but we'll take it.
Yeah. I guess it's just he's feeling nice, he's feeling generous, and we really appreciate the live tweeting help whenever we
are some dumb people. But we'll take it. Thanks.
Oh, he knows. We roll together frequently. He's very aware of my inadequacies.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the difference. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of inadequacies. I don't even know. I've never met.
That's true.
But,
so,
I will say this, though. Andrew, if you wouldn't mind beating Kevin up for me over there, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Stay away from my wrists. He's a master of wrist locks, and it's the worst because he'll let you take his back, and then all of a sudden you can't feel your right hand. And you're like, damn it! Right. Damn it! Part of the learning process. Yeah, we also got some tweets from Master Wilson. Oswaldo Fada, which is of our lineage, which we always appreciate. That does it for mine. No Concept Jiu-Jitsu, also one of the schools out here in Maryland that's great. And Andrew, it's his first black belt that runs that school. So good guys, great program, and they're always posting really cool stuff on social media as well, which we appreciate. And as you've noticed, we will send out and reciprocate. So you have any shout-outs?
Does that do it for you?
I'm done. That's my 17 minutes of shout-outs. I'm done.
You sound like a rapper at the Source Awards.
Well, people have called me the P. Diddy of podcasting for MMA. It's a pretty
turned. It's no longer funny. I have deemed it no longer funny now.
Disagree. I can't believe he called himself the P. Diddy of fighting.
You were the P. Diddy of this podcast. I'll give you that.
There we go. Well, I'll take it. That's fine.
Now, I'm going to make my shout-out significant. I'm going to do it to just one person, and it is to John Evans, our instructor over at Valley Martial Arts Center here in North Hollywood. John is a wonderfully awesome guy, and he hosts a podcast/videocast called KTFO Podcast. Look it up. Very nice and entertaining, and I know we don't always give acknowledgments to other podcasts because that seems stupid.
Yeah.
But this guy's quality, it's very funny and loose and light, the kind of thing that we like, not like co-main event. You hear that?
Not the opposite of co-main event. We would never a main event, if you get what I'm saying.
That's right. He can't even be the main event. That's
not even the main event. They're the Rampage of this UFC on Fox 6. That does it for us. This is Verbal Tap. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and a good fight.